It is time to talk games, people. Welcome back to Update X, where I tell you what's been going on in the crazy world of video games over the past week. Uploaded every Monday morning on YouTube and podcast platforms like Apple Podcasts and Spotify. I'm your host, Brennan Reshitar, at The Only Resh on Twitter and basically everywhere else. Today's update 5.3 for May 18th, 2020, which includes Ghost of Tsushima gameplay, the new Unreal Engine 5 shown via PlayStation 5 gameplay, the new Paper Mario game announcement, and so much more. Let's get into it. We're going to start with a bunch of digital event announcements, starting with Guerrilla Collective, which is a huge indie game showcase. And this info is coming from Joe Screbbles at IGN. So the Media Indie Exchange has announced Guerrilla Collective, a 3-day event focused on indie developers and publishers, taking place from June 6th through the 8th. It will make up a part of IGN's Summer of Gaming showcase. Produced alongside the Kinda Funny Game Showcase and hosted by Kinda Funny co-founder and ex-IGN lovely man, Greg Miller. The event will begin on June 6th at 10 a.m. Pacific and promises news and announcements for every platform. Some of the announced participants include Larian, who did Baldur's Gate 3, Thunderful, who did the SteamWorld series, Zaum, Z-A-U-M, who did Disco Elysium, and Rebellion, who did Sniper Elite. On June 7th, there will be a second online press event, and June 8th will include a day of gameplay demos and developer interviews. IGN has a full list of devs and publishers to attend, and more to be announced. They got a huge list of developers that are going to be there. The Guerrilla Collective event will also include the Paradox Insider broadcast, the digital version of the yearly PC gaming show, and the Future Game Show. And also, Ubisoft is going to hold an event called Ubisoft Forward, and this one's from Nicole Carpenter at Polygon. Ubisoft will hold an E3-style showcase called Ubisoft Forward on July 12th. Ubisoft said, "Get ready for an E3-style showcase with plenty of exclusive game news, exciting reveals, and much more." So, since it's Ubisoft, more likely than not, we're going to see Valhalla, we're going to see Watch Dogs Legion, Gods and Monsters, Rainbow Six Quarantine. It's kind of the probable things we're going to see there. Interesting thing about Rainbow Six Quarantine, some people have been wondering whether they're going to change the name now because quarantine, but we'll see if they actually go through with that. So yeah, some digital event announcements, more in the past week were announced than in the past 2 months, I feel like. And then going on to the PlayStation State of Play event, which was centered around Ghost of Tsushima. So this happened last Thursday, and essentially it was an 18-minute broadcast of Ghost of Tsushima gameplay. And I went through the whole thing and I kind of wrote out some bullet points on what I interpreted from the gameplay and key points that play a factor in how that game goes. So if you have watched the show before, I talked about some rumors about Ghost of Tsushima about a month ago, I think it was, where they were talking about the game possibly not having any waypoints and you having to rely on knowledge of landmarks in the game's map instead of being able to place waypoints. That wasn't entirely true because in this state of play, there is something called a guiding wind to show you where to go. So if you pull up your map in the game and you place a waypoint, the wind will blow in whatever direction you're supposed to go to the mark that you set on the map. And it'll blow for a few seconds, and then whenever you feel like it, you can hit, I think it's one of the buttons on the D-pad, and the wind will blow for a few seconds again, showing you which direction to go. And a lot of the things that they showed about exploration in this game were a lot of more immersive aspects, which I enjoy because I like getting lost in a video game's world. So that was really cool. The guiding wind shows you the waypoints, and some birds will fly over, and if you follow the birds, they'll guide you to certain points of interest on the map. And foxes that are running around, if you follow a fox, they'll lead you to shrines, which you go up to, and those become fast travel points. And if you see smokestacks in the distance, it'll show you that people need help wherever that smoke is coming from. So yeah, just cutting down on heads-up display a little bit so there's not as much, markers on your screen and stuff like that, so you feel like you're more in that world, which is really cool. I appreciate that in any game that does that. Another thing I noticed while watching it, you can collect resources like flowers or whatever other plants he was picking up in the gameplay while riding on horseback, because Nobody likes going around in a game and you're riding on a horse and you have to go through the animation of getting off the horse to go pick something up just to go back on the horse 2 seconds later. So you can just collect resources while you're riding past them on horseback. And there's a detection arrow, like in Ghost Recon Wildlands and the newer Assassin's Creed games, where there's a bar with an arrow on it and it slowly fills up white while an enemy sees you, and then when it gets all the way up, then you've been detected. It's that kind of thing. So a lot of open world exploration, basically. It's got some platforming. I'll talk about another platforming thing later in this story. And from what I could see from the footage, I think the map will be a similar size to Assassin's Creed Origins, maybe a bit smaller, but I don't have legitimate info about that. There was no confirmation or full map shown. That's just what I am assuming, because in one scene from the gameplay, he's up on a hill and he's looking down at the map, and it seems like a similar size, but we'll see how that goes. That's just my guess. And something that was said during the footage, if you've ever seen a samurai movie, you know what to expect. And that is Nate Fox from Sucker Punch. That's what he said when talking about combat. He continues, 2 warriors sizing each other up, waiting for the other to make the first move. So I really like this aspect of it. So the gameplay shows the ghost that you play as walking up to this village that's occupied by the Mongols, and you enter a standoff mode where you're not being stealthy about it, you're just walking right up to the front gate of the village. And these 2 or 3 enemies that are there see you. You enter standoff mode, and one of them walks right up to you, and the other 2 enemies that were next to him kind of stay back and like let the 1v1 happen, because that's like a samurai thing. I really like that aspect. And so you're in standoff mode, and they were both just hands on their swords, not taking it out of their sheath, and like waiting for someone to make the first move. The enemy makes the first move, the ghost sidesteps, and in one motion taking his sword out of the sheath and slicing the enemy at the same time, and he's dead. So I really like the standoff mode. That seems really cool. It was interesting that it was a one-shot kill in the standoff. I'm thinking enemies are going to die quicker in Ghost of Tsushima as opposed to a lot of other open world exploration games like Assassin's Creed. Yes, the other enemies stay back and let the 1v1 happen. He continues to go into the village, and then since everybody knows that he's there, since he just walked up to it and didn't use stealth, there's guys shooting arrows at the ghost. You can block arrows with your sword, which I thought was nice. I don't like in games where you have to worry about dodging arrows or being behind cover the whole time. You also have a bow, so you have a multitude of weapons to use. Another thing I noticed, there are bonus objectives for missions. So in the gameplay shown when he's in the village, underneath the main objective, which is in the top left, there is a statement saying, bonus, kill enemies with the half bow, 1 out of 3. That was directly under the main objective, so there will be bonus objectives in this game. It didn't really show what you get for completing bonus objectives, but they're going to be there. Again, with the combat, it seems like there's a lot of parrying and dodging, and from what I saw in the footage, it seems like after you parry an enemy, the next hit is going to be a kill, which goes into what I said about a lot of enemies dying quicker than they do in most other games. And some people had some speculation and worries saying they're worried this game might be too easy once you get all the mechanics down, because it seemed like enemies were dying fairly quickly. But I'm assuming they wouldn't make it that easy, and there's going to be some more challenge than just parry and one hit kill people. And you can also change fighting stances to inflict more damage to specific enemy types. So that'll be another interesting gameplay aspect to be paying attention to while you're playing. And those were all the samurai aspects of it. Because if you don't remember, there's samurai tactics and the ghost tactics or ninja tactics that you learn in this game. So the samurai aspects directly approach the camps. Enemies immediately know when you're there, and it's like an actual battle everybody knows. And then the footage goes on to the ghost aspects. So, very stealth-based, obviously. People were pointing out a lot of similarities between this game and Assassin's Creed games, which is fair. I definitely agree with that. So, in this part of the footage, he kind of sneaks up, crouching through the grass up to this village, and it's nighttime. And you can use rocks or firecrackers or other distractions on enemies so you can sneak up behind them. And the music when he's sneaking around the village is just giving off more of a stealth vibe. And I think the soundtrack is going to play a big part of this game in different moments of it. They did put a big focus on the music for it. And another thing with the Ghost stealth gameplay, it looks like there's combo assassinations where at one point the Ghost is up on a rooftop of like a one-story thing, or I think it's just an overhang, and he throws the firecrackers down to distract these two enemies. They both walk up to it. He jumps down and assassinates the first one, and it kind of does a slow-mo moment where he turns over to the other one and there's a button prompt to assassinate the other one. So again, similar to Assassin's Creed. And you also have smoke bombs to break the line of sight and stagger enemies. So in the footage, he walks up to, or as everybody notices him because he combo assassinated the other two enemies, everybody's on him, so he drops the smoke bomb, and this heavier enemy kind of staggers back a little bit from the smoke bomb, and he goes up to him and does a critical strike. And it seems like you can't assassinate the heavier enemies with one hit. So he gets the critical strike, and then he throws a kunai, which is like a throwing star, at the heavier enemy. And it seems like the kunai is kind of a one-hit kill for most people. It was a one-hit kill after the critical strike on the heavier enemy, and then he killed another couple people with one hit. And another thing they pointed out about Ghost of Tsushima is that fear is going to be something you want to play to your advantage. So after seeing you kill a couple guys with the more stealth skills, one of the enemies just straight up ran away, and another one dropped his weapon and he was backing up. He fell down. He was like scooting backwards to get away from you. And some text on the bottom of the screen said, "The Mongols will learn to fear the ghost. Use that to your advantage." So that's an interesting aspect. I don't think I've played a game that has that mechanic in it. So that'll be fun to play around with. And coming back to the platforming I talked about earlier, you have a grappling hook to swing across gaps and maybe use it to climb things. They didn't show climbing, but they did show one to swing across a gap. And then it goes on to customization. So the different armor you can get isn't just aesthetic. It does give you different combat advantages based on your playstyle. There are charms you can equip, and you can use the charms and technique points to learn and upgrade skills. And they went through 3 different charms. One of them was slowly recover health while out of combat. Another one was wind chimes release poison vapors that kill enemies who pick them up. And the third one was smoke bombs restore 25% of your health. So it's kind of like perks as you're playing the game is what the charms are, it seems like. And there are also dye flowers around the map for you to find. And once you find enough dye flowers, you can change the color of an armor. And in the video, they said change the color of an armor, not like your whole armor set. So I'm assuming once you get however many dye flowers you need, you can only color one piece of armor at a time. And there's also going to be a photo mode, which is really cool because this game looks beautiful. And I'm really sad I don't have a PS4 Pro to play this on, but I am excited to see how it looks on the PS5. The photo mode has tools like color grading, depth of field, and plenty more like that. And some interesting options like wind speed and direction, your character's facial expression, particles in the air like leaves, fireflies, or flower petals, and other stuff like that. And there is a Japanese voice track option with English subtitles, if you want to go full Japanese in this. And there's a samurai cinema mode, which makes it black and white and a little bit grainy, like you're watching an old samurai movie. So they really wanted to lean into that authentic Japanese like samurai movie experience. So that's really cool that they added those to this game. Again, not something I think I've seen in almost any game I've played. So that stuff's really cool. And going on from that, we've got Iron Man VR getting a release date now. And this info is from Tom Ivan at Video Games Chronicle. It says Marvel's Iron Man VR will be released on PlayStation VR on July 3rd, 2020. Announcing the release date last Tuesday, Sony Interactive Entertainment said more information about the game will be released in the coming weeks. The title has been in development for 3 years at Seattle-based Camouflage, the studio behind stealth thriller Republic. It was originally set for release last year before being delayed to February 2020, and then to May, and then most recently to an unspecified date due to disruption caused by the coronavirus pandemic. So if you remember, when The Last of Us 2 got delayed again indefinitely, this was the game that was tied with that, where they said Last of Us Part 2 and Iron Man VR are both delayed indefinitely. And then when they came out with the new release date for Last of Us Part 2, they said Last of Us Part 2, June 17th, and Ghost of Tsushima, July 19th. And they didn't say anything about Iron Man VR until now. So that does have a date now, July 3rd. And I know some people have been really excited for that one. I don't have VR, so I won't be playing it. And after that story, we've got PS5 gameplay shown on the new Unreal Engine 5. And I'm getting this info from Asher Madan at Windows Central. It says Eurogamer did an in-depth analysis of the footage and even interviewed Epic Games developers. Vice President of Engineering Nick Penwarden said this. Interestingly, it does work very well with our dynamic resolution technique as well. So when GPU load gets high, we can lower the screen resolution a bit, and then we can adapt to that. In the demo, we actually did use dynamic resolution, although it ends up rendering at about 1440p most of the time. So that tech demo for the Unreal Engine 5 was in 1440p, not quite 4K. Another thing that he said was hardware accelerated ray tracing will be supported in Unreal Engine 5, but it's not a part of the PS5 tech demo revealed today. So it wasn't full 4K, it didn't have ray tracing, and it looks like the demo only supported 30 FPS, 30 frames per second, which is not ideal, but the footage still looked amazing. They were more going for showcasing what it was capable of graphically, not more performance-wise at the moment. And hearing the guys from Epic Games talk about the details was really cool for me. A lot of people who aren't really into details and specs won't get as much from this demo. There was a ton of tech talk, but basically graphics, physics, and sound are going to get a lot better and a lot more realistic with Unreal Engine 5. And I'm going to go into some of the details a little bit here because I still think it's worth talking about. CEO Tim Sweeney tells The Verge, "Our goal isn't just to bring more features to developers. The hardest problem in game development right now is building high-quality games takes enormous time and cost. So we want to make developers' lives easier and more productive." Epic's Chief Technology Officer Kim Libreri and Sweeney explained that it may take some time for the full scope of the hardware and software to be realized and for developers to become fluent in toolsets like UE5. Sweeney cites the launch of the Xbox 360 and the release nearly a year later of a game like Gears of War, which was a groundbreaking showcase for HD gaming at the time, as an example of how it may take a year or longer to see truly next-gen titles with UE5. And with its full launch in late 2021, Epic says UE5 will support next-generation consoles, current-generation consoles, PC, Mac, iOS, and Android. Quote, "Sony has really done an awesome job of architecting a great system," Sweeney says. "The storage architecture on the PS5 is far ahead of anything you can buy on PC for any amount of money right now." That's a bold statement. He continues, "It's going to help drive future PCs. They're going to see this thing ship and say, oh wow, SSDs are going to need to catch up with this." So a couple weeks of bold statements, because last week I talked about Phil Spencer saying current gen to next gen will be a similar jump as 2D to 3D games. And then now Sweeney from Epic Games saying that, again, the quote was, "The storage architecture on the PS5 is far ahead of anything you can buy on PC for any amount of money right now. It's going to help drive future PCs." Bold claim, but I'm really excited to see if that's actually legitimate. The PS5, combined with tools like UE5, will enable, quote, "nothing but seamless, continuous worlds, and you can have this degree of fidelity going on for as many kilometers and gigabytes as you wish," Sweeney adds. He's referring to the PS5's new ultra-fast M.2 solid-state drive, which Sony claims will have a drastic effect on how fast games load and how developers are able to manage the data of their game while it's running on the hardware. The end result, in Sony's words, are worlds that load almost instantaneously, freeing up developers to put resources toward maximizing visual quality and totally rethinking level design. So after this tech demo, I think once July hits and we see first-party game footage from Xbox, we will be able to compare the two a little bit more accurately, but keeping in mind that this PS5 tech demo was showing a game that's not coming out for PS5. The game was strictly made to show Unreal Engine 5, and it was just a fragment of gameplay from something that's not actually coming out. And also keep in mind that games of that quality we might not see for another couple years once people actually get to use Unreal Engine 5 and fully take advantage of the tools with it. And Epic is also finally launching its Epic Online Services platform, the multi-platform and game management toolset that it built specifically to operate Fortnite. Originally announced in late 2018, Epic Online Services takes all of that technology, specifically the cross-platform matchmaking and account management tech that lets Fortnite accounts move and play between mobile console and PC, and gives it out for free. It will operate as a single software development kit, and it's available today for all major consoles, Mac, and PC, with mobile to come soon. So basically what this means is cross-platform and cross-play will be more readily available in the future. It's really good to see this becoming much more normal now, so people won't have to think about which systems their friends are on when thinking about what system to get next. Because everybody's been wanting this since online gaming was a thing with consoles. And the next story we've got, The Elder Scrolls 6 is very far away. And this is from Michael McWhirter at Polygon. The Elder Scrolls 6 was announced nearly 2 years ago, but very little has been revealed about the game. He says, well, I suggest settling in for a long and patient wait, because we're not going to hear anything about the follow-up to Skyrim for a very long while, according to Bethesda. That probably comes as little surprise, but with the goal of setting expectations being so important right now, Bethesda Senior VP of Marketing and Communications Pete Hines said on Twitter over the weekend that fans should probably expect The Elder Scrolls 6 years from now. Again, not surprising, but some people, I guess, were expecting things a lot sooner for that game. And it started with a fan who tweeted this at Pete Hines. The fan tweeted, quote, "Alright, check it out, at DC Deacon," which is Pete Hines' Twitter handle. "Let's cut the shit. When can we expect some info on The Elder Scrolls 6? We need this." And Pete Hines replied, quote, "It's after Starfield, which you pretty much know nothing about, so if you're coming at me for details now and not years from now, I'm failing to properly manage your expectations." Starfield is, of course, the other Bethesda Game Studios game that was teased in June 2018 at that year's E3. We know very little about Starfield, too. We know it's a space epic and the first new franchise in 25 years from the developers of the Elder Scrolls and Fallout series. On Twitter, Hines said we'd find out more about Starfield someday. That's all we know about that. Bethesda Softworks' currently announced lineup includes Deathloop from Arcane Studios and Ghostwire Tokyo from Tango Gameworks, two other games still shrouded in mystery. Bethesda also has the Elder Scrolls Online Greymoor expansion coming later this month to PC and June 9th for PS4 and Xbox One. Another Elder Scrolls game, The Elder Scrolls Blades, is also coming out of early access soon and to Nintendo Switch this spring. So again, I didn't really expect to hear more about Elder Scrolls 6 anytime soon, but this is confirmation from Pete Hines that you shouldn't expect to see more about the Elder Scrolls 6 for quite a while. And the next story, we've got Respawn veterans form new AAA studio with a focus on next-gen games. I'm getting this one from Austin Wood at Games Radar. Drew McCoy and John Shearing, respectively Respawn Entertainment's former executive producer and the former lead programmer on Apex Legends, have co-founded their own game studio. It's called Gravity Well, and as McCoy explained to Games Industry, it's emphasizing remote work, and particularly in the wake of ongoing coronavirus pandemic, and relatively small but nevertheless AAA production. As of now, the studio is just its co-founders, but it's aiming to grow 80 to 100 people. More details are available on the newly minted website. Quote, "That is the team size we are really comfortable with," McCoy says. "That's the size where decision-making can be spread out and it doesn't need to come from someone at the top of a pyramid. You get tons of speed benefits because the team is smaller. They understand the game better and they can make decisions on an hourly basis without having to interact with a bunch of other people. So keeping a team smaller while still trying to hit all the hallmarks of a AAA game, that's the aim." He also talked about next gen, saying the transition to next gen, Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5, is really exciting. It dovetails with our desire to find new spaces that people haven't explored. While this new generation feels like an iteration of what we've already seen, I think that things like the amount of CPU power and I/O speed actually opens up opportunities that we haven't had before. Even when the Xbox One and PS4 were in development, what we were screaming at platforms to do was give us faster I/O, please. I'm excited to see where we can get to with it. So that's the end of the quotes from McCoy. I'm very excited to see what kind of games the new Gravity Well studio creates. Their focus on next gen will make sure that their games take full advantage of the new hardware. They're really putting their efforts into new ideas that people haven't explored. And of course, the smaller studio still putting out AAA games is awesome. It also sounds like they're emphasizing quicker decision making and being able to adapt quickly, given the small team, which hopefully means minimum crunch on game development, which has also been a very prevalent issue in the past few months/years. And the next story, this one is something a lot of people are going to be excited for. If you haven't heard already, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 are being remastered for PS4, Xbox One, and PC. I'm getting this info from Andrew Webster at The Verge. You'll be able to shred as Tony Hawk and friends again very soon. Activision announced a new remastered collection that brings together the first two Tony Hawk's Pro Skater games in one modern package, with new features like online play and a more robust course builder. It'll be coming to the PS4, Xbox One, and PC via the Epic Game Store on September 4th. First, here are the basics. The remastered collection will feature updated visuals, all of the original levels, characters, and tricks, extra challenges, a more elaborate Create a Park mode, where you can share custom skate parks online, and brand new online multiplayer modes along with local multiplayer. On top of that, the games will include the vast majority of the iconic THPS soundtracks, even though not every song made it due to licensing issues, because that's always a nightmare. The remaster is being handled by Vicarious Visions, which has some history both with the Skate franchise and remaking games. Some of the studio's earlier projects were the surprisingly excellent portable versions of THPS, while more recently the developer released the Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy, also a remaster of PlayStation-era classics. I believe that makes us the ideal studio to faithfully remaster Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2, says Vicarious Visions COO Simon Ebeger. According to Simon, working on projects like Crash taught the studio that remastering a beloved game is something of a balancing act. The challenge of a faithful remaster is knowing where to push the boundaries and what to keep sacred. It's important to capture the original experience. The goal, he explains, was to make it feel like a game meant for 2020. With that in mind, the new THPS retains largely the same core as the original in terms of how it controls and how it's structured. What's new is what Simon describes as the metagame that connects the two titles together. From the sound of it, players will be able to dip in and out of both titles, and in doing so will unlock pieces for the online park creator mode, which is somewhat separate. Quote, we didn't want the game to be, okay, you play Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and then play THPS 2 and start over from scratch, just like you would have if you bought the games back in the day. The meta that sits over top of everything allows players to not feel like they're losing progress by playing either one of those games. THPS is well known both for its roster of real-world skaters and its incredible soundtrack. When it came to the skaters, the entire cast has returned, and there were no big issues with the likenesses, according to Simon. They were all super stoked to get on board, he says. Those were pivotal moments in all of these skaters' careers. They were up and coming at the time, and now they're all truly icons in the sport. The lineup will include not only Hawk, but the likes of Steve Caballero, Jeff Rowley, Bucky Lasek, Alyssa Steamer, Kareem Campbell, and Andrew Reynolds, Bob Burnquist, and Chad Muska. Music was a different situation. It's not clear how many of the original songs will be featured in the game, nor which artists will be back, but there are at least a few that won't make it due to licensing issues. The game is 20 plus years old, Simon says. We've got the vast majority, and I'm really excited about that. So, the more recent Tony Hawk's Pro Skater games have not been nearly as beloved as Pro Skater 1 and 2. IGN posted a graph of their 1 to 10 ratings, well, on a 100-point scale, but 1 to 10 ratings for each of the mainline THPS games. And they said it would make a really great downhill slope for the game because, like, 9 point whatevers for the first, like, 3 games and then just gradually going down. And I think Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5, they gave like a 3.5 or something out of 10. So that was bad. So not only are fans excited about the remaster just for the sake of playing them again, but the fact that it's the roots of the Tony Hawk games, back to when everyone loved it so much. The game not coming to Switch kind of sucks. I think the Switch is where I would like to play this the most. So I could hop into the game on break at work if I wanted to. I feel like it's more of a game that I would just want to hop in and out of on the move. Maybe it'll come to Switch eventually with lower graphics options, most likely, because the game looks incredible from what they showed. I'm hoping they at least announced if they will or not put it to Switch soon, but we'll see. Again, that's coming September 4th, and if you pre-order it, you gain access to a demo of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater's Warehouse, the level that introduced players to the arcade skateboarding game more than 20 years ago. Activision hasn't announced when the demo will be available, but you'll be able to get a taste of the new look prior to its official launch. There's also an exclusive pre-order bonus available at GameStop, where you'll get a Tony Hawk mini fingerboard with your game on top of demo access, which is pretty cool. I miss fingerboards. Those are fun. The standard edition is $40. The deluxe edition is $50 and includes the Ripper skater from Powell Peralta, retro outfits for Tony Hawk, Rodney Mullen, and Steve Caballero, and retro content for Create a Skater mode. The collector's edition is $100, and that's actually sold out already. Sold out in Target, Walmart, GameStop, and Best Buy, I think, were the only 4 places. Or no, Amazon too. Yeah, it was sold out everywhere. So if you didn't get this already, sorry, but everybody, I guess, wanted this one, which, good reason. It's only $100, and it comes with a limited edition Birdhouse deck, the base game, all of the deluxe edition goodies, and the pre-order bonus. The deck is fully skatable, but as this is a collector's item with a printed autograph from Tony Hawk, you may not want to actually use it to skate. And going on from that, we've got Assassin's Creed Valhalla will run at least 30 frames per second on Xbox Series X, according to Ubisoft. This is from Jennifer Locke at Windows Central. The article says, despite 60 FPS being the standard output on Xbox Series X, it looks like one major upcoming title may not hit that benchmark. According to a Ubisoft spokesperson speaking with Eurogamer's Portugal branch, Assassin's Creed Valhalla will run at least 30 FPS on Xbox Series X. Even with that statement, the door wasn't shut on the possibility of 60 FPS. Valhalla is still several months from release, and Ubisoft could optimize it by that time to at least offer the option of favoring resolution or frame rate, like some current-gen games do right now. It's also set to support 4K resolution and take advantage of the Xbox Series X's SSD for faster loading times. I almost didn't even want to talk about this story because of how much everybody's up in a bunch about it, but I had to talk about it a little bit. I'm assuming they will have some kind of resolution or frames preference option in the game by the time it comes out this holiday. Is 30 frames per second ideal? No, not by any means. But it's not a first-person shooter. It's not a really fast-paced game. It's Assassin's Creed. So for now, let's at least just take that information as is and wait until the game actually comes out before everybody decides to rip it apart for its performance. On a more positive note about Valhalla, it will see a return of social stealth and wrist blade insta-kills. This is from Andy Chalk at PC Gamer. The series has changed a lot over the years, as it's evolved from Altair to Alexios, and so has the hidden blade that assassins wear on their arms. Recent games have seen its utility reduced somewhat, from a tool of quiet instant kills to just another blade, albeit one you can wear. But Valhalla creative director Ashraf Ismail told Kotaku that its effectiveness as a stealth weapon will be restored in the new game, in part because it will have perhaps an unexpected focus on stealth-based gameplay. Quote, Eivor receives the hidden blade quite early on, he said. We continue with the idea that Eivor is not a trained assassin. Eivor is a Viking who receives this badass weapon and has to learn very quickly. Early in the experience, Eivor will learn a technique that, with the right timing, can one-shot kill virtually anybody. Ismail said that one-shot kills will require some skill to pull off, but it sounds like a skill players will need to pick up because, as he put it, social stealth is back, and that might seem like an odd approach in a game built around Vikings, famed in popular culture as the least stealthy warriors in all of human history, but it actually sounds like it might be a good fit for the subject matter. Quote, the idea that a Norse person or a Viking is in a place they're not wanted, for them to sort of go incognito and kind of hide in the crowd, if you will, made a lot of sense, Ismail said. So that'll be an interesting diversion back to the original Assassin's Creed games, especially being Vikings. So looks like they're changing up the formula a little bit. The reason I didn't play Odyssey right away was because I put a lot of hours into Origins, and I was like, well, Origins was Egypt and Odyssey is Greece, so it's very similar. Granted, everybody's have always said that Odyssey is just a better Origins, so I will get to it eventually, but I just finished Origins when it came out, and I don't want to do the same type of gameplay. And the next story we've got, Phil Spencer says 2021 games are more likely to be disrupted by coronavirus. This is from Andy Robinson at Video Games Chronicle. Speaking to Business Insider in an interview, Spencer reiterated that he feels good about the Xbox Series X's planned launch later this year, and the software scheduled to release alongside it. However, because some areas of game development have basically stopped due to a global shift to remote working, the platform had suggested that game projects earlier in their development cycles could yet suffer delays. He says, through the summer and early fall, I feel pretty good about those games. Games that were targeted a year from now or beyond, there will be some impact, but they'll be able to react. Spencer highlighted motion capture and audio as areas that have been most affected due to remote working. He says, mocap is just something that's basically stopped. We're not going into mocap studios. If you had all your animation captured and you're doing touch-up and more individual art production, and in areas like textures and other things, you're in a better position. If you're waiting for a lot of either large audio work, when it's with symphonies and other things, or mocap, you're held up right now, and you're making progress in areas that you can. So, as we all know, progress has been slowed because of the pandemic, but for a lot of games that have already been decently far in development, they will be able to adjust well enough for the most part, and hopefully face little to no delays. But for games that don't have those critical aspects done yet, it's going to hurt in the long run, and we will still be seeing after effects of the pandemic long after it's over, whenever that is. And the next story, we've got a Mafia Trilogy remaster teased by 2K. This is from Austin Golson at Polygon. The Mafia series, one of the most underrated modern gaming franchises, at least that's what Austin Golson says, I haven't played those games, is getting a new release as a complete trilogy. 2K Games and Hangar 13 revealed that on Wednesday. The announcement came with a very short teaser that flashes between characters from all three games, but doesn't show much else. The trailer confirms Mafia Trilogy for PS4, Xbox One, and Windows PC via Steam and the Epic Games Store. Each Mafia game came out for a completely different console generation, which means this is the first time they'll all be playable on the same system, excluding PC. The original Mafia was released in 2002 on PlayStation 2, Xbox, and PC, and followed the rise and fall of Tommy Angelo. The game featured a pretty impressive recreation of a 1930s city, along with dozens of era-appropriate cars, but was mostly overshadowed by Grand Theft Auto Vice City, which came out a couple months later. Mafia 2 takes place a few years later, shortly after World War II, with players taking on the role of Vito Scaletta. Scaletta returns home after the war and falls in with local mobs, and quickly rises to power in his home city of Empire Bay, which is a combination of Chicago and New York City. Mafia 2 was originally released on PC, PlayStation 3, and Xbox 360, though the PC version didn't run particularly well when it launched. Along with its fantastic crime story, Mafia 2 had one of the most impressive cover and shooting systems of any open world game that generation. The most recent game in the series, Mafia 3, came out back in 2016 on PlayStation 4, Windows PC, and Xbox One. Mafia 3 takes a very different path from the first two games by centering on Lincoln Clay. Clay is a resident of the city of New Bordeaux, based on New Orleans, and wants to build his own criminal organization to steal the city away from the Italian mob that currently runs it. The game was developed by Hangar 13, the same studio behind this new Trilogy re-release. So I heard the story of the third game was actually really good, but I also heard it had a lot of technical problems and glitches. This brief teaser trailer doesn't say anything about when the Mafia trilogy will be released, but it does say that more news and a bigger announcement are on the way on May 19th at 9 a.m. Pacific time. And after that, we've got Paper Mario the Origami King revealed with a July launch date. Getting this from Jeff Grubb at VentureBeat. Nintendo has a surprise for Mario fans. The publisher is working on a new Paper Mario game, and it's launching soon for Nintendo Switch. Paper Mario the Origami King debuts July 17th with an all-new story and characters for $60. Nintendo revealed the game with a 2-minute trailer, which I'll have up on the screen for those of you watching on YouTube. The trailer opens up with an origami Peach threatening Mario by demanding that he fold himself as a sign of respect. When Mario refuses, she throws him down a pit. But this game doesn't just have a new enemy. Mario will also have a new partner named Olivia. She is a good piece of origami, but Mario and Olivia will also get the help from the Toads and even a folded up version of Bowser. On the gameplay side of things, Mario will also acquire the 1000-fold arms ability. This gives the hero extendable arms for solving puzzles and more. So Nintendo is slowly starting to be more vocal and get more information and more games out there finally. This new Paper Mario game will make a lot of fans happy. I've never played the Paper Mario games, but I think I might jump into this one. And the story after that, introducing Inside the Last of Us Part 2 video series. I'm getting the info from Scott Lowe, who is the senior communications manager at Naughty Dog. He says, "We hope you're taking care of yourselves, staying safe, and making solid progress on your back catalog of games. The Last of Us Part 2 is by far the largest and most ambitious game we've ever made, and there will be so much more for you to dig into when it arrives on June 19th. Oh, I might have said June 17th earlier, my bad. Leading up to launch, we're releasing a brand new series of videos breaking down key aspects of the game. Each video will feature interviews with members of our team as we discuss the design, technology, and ideas that have shaped the development of our game over the last 6 years. We're kicking things off by taking a closer look at the story in The Last of Us Part 2, including some of the core themes we're exploring, a glimpse into Ellie and Joel's life in Jackson, and how we're broadening the world and cast of characters. Don't worry, we're keeping all episodes spoiler-free, and there will be so much more for you to dig into on June 19th. From here on out, we'll be releasing videos every week for the next 3 weeks. Here's what to expect and when. So May 13th was Inside the Story. May 20th will be Inside the Gameplay. May 27th will be Inside the Details, and June 3rd will be Inside the World. So the Inside the Story video is about 4 minutes long. I haven't watched it because I still want to go into this game blind and experience it that way. But I'm assuming it's just an introduction to where the story continues after the ending of The Last of Us. And that's all we got for gaming news today. Going on to gaming deals. There are still a bunch of Xbox One X bundles that are $300 until May 24th, including the Gears 5 Limited Edition bundle and the NBA 2K20 Special Edition bundle. The deals for last week, which I think are still available through the end of today, May 18th, were a 505 Games Publisher sale and a Start Your Engine sale, which that one was racing games. Both of those sales are on Xbox games. Now, I posted those deals on Twitter when I saw them last Tuesday or Wednesday, since I record this podcast and upload on Mondays. So follow Update X Show on Twitter for weekly game deals, or check out GameSpot.com/deals, because they always have good deals posted there. And PlayStation has an extended play sale with what looks like up to 80% off a variety of games like Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, Crash Team Racing, Assassin's Creed Odyssey Gold Edition, Borderlands 3 Super Deluxe Edition, DayZ, the Batman Arkham Collection, and a ton more. That sale is going on through May 28th, and PlayStation also still has the Hidden Gems sale, which is up to 75% off hidden gems like Little Nightmares Complete Edition, Control, Yakuza 5 Remastered, Destiny 2 Shadowkeep, Journey to the Savage Planet, and a ton more. That deal ends May 20th. PlayStation also has a games under $15 section, which shows you games that are on sale for under $15. Nintendo has an anime game sale with up to 80% off anime games like Dragon Ball FighterZ, Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, God Eater 3, My Hero 1's Justice 1 and 2, a few Naruto games, and more. That sale goes on through May 26th. Nintendo also has an Annapurna Interactive publisher sale, where their entire catalog is on sale through May 28th, including games like Gone Home, What Remains of Edith Finch, Telling Lies, Sayonara Wild Hearts, Kentucky Route Zero TV Edition, and more. And you can get What the Golf for Switch, the game for people who hate golf, for 25% off if you pre-purchase it. It releases on May 21st. And more random deals, as always, for Switch. And going on to the past week and next week releases via Metacritic. I said last week that Star Wars Episode 1 Racer was releasing May 12th, but on May 11th it got delayed with no future date given. So that was interesting to do that the day before it was supposed to release. Hunt Down released May 12th for PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. Halo 2 Anniversary released May 12th for PC. I've been seeing so many people report problems with that so far. Super Mega Baseball 3 released May 13th for Xbox, PS4, Switch, and PC. Deep Rock Galactic released May 13th for Xbox One and PC. Ion Fury released May 14th for Xbox One, PS4, and Switch. Oddworld Munch's Odyssey HD released May 14th for Switch. TT Isle of Man Ride on the Edge 2 released May 14th for Switch. The Elder Scrolls Blades released May 14th for Switch. Hatsune Miku Project Diva Megamix released May 15th for Switch. And Pong Quest released May 15th for PS4. And going on to releases next week, The Wonderful 101 Remastered releases May 19th for Switch, PS4, and PC. Total War Warhammer 2, The Warden and the Punch releases May 21st for PC. What the Golf releases May 21st for Switch. Remember, if you pre-purchase that, you get 25% off. Dragon Ball FighterZ Ultra Instinct Goku releases May 22nd for PS4, Xbox One, and PC. Saints Row the Third Remastered releases May 22nd for PS4, Xbox One, and PC, which is what I talked about a few episodes ago. And Each Sail I Drank a Glass of Water, which is a game I talked about in April, supposedly releases May 25th for PC. If you remember, it was supposed to be in early access May 1st, but never did. And apparently now it's supposed to be going into early access May 25th, so we'll see what happens. That's just the one where every time someone purchases that, a video of him drinking a glass of water is added to the video. It's a very interesting experiment he's doing. And going on to what have I been playing, I finally finished Final Fantasy VII Remake. Love that game, only took me like 38 hours. After that, I tried getting back into Control because I had started it before. Still wasn't really feeling it, so I started Hellblade, and I finished that. I love that game too. I know I'm very late playing that one, but better late than never. I just love the immersion in that game. There isn't really any heads-up display. It tells you how to play the game without blatantly telling you, press this button to do this. And Senua's got voices in her head that actually help you out sometimes. It's really interesting mechanics they put into that game, and I really enjoyed the whole thing. After that, I did go back to Control and finished it. The last hour or two of that game is so much better than everything leading up to it, in my opinion. A lot of people did love that game. I didn't. I don't know what my deal was with it, but I beat it. And then I jumped into some Rocket League, and now I'm trying to figure out what to play for my backlog next. I was thinking about starting Assassin's Creed Odyssey, but I don't want to tire myself out of that kind of gameplay before Ghost of Tsushima comes out, so I'll figure something out. So this has been your update 5.3 for May 18th, 2020. Thank you so much for watching on YouTube and for listening on podcast platforms like Apple Podcasts and Spotify. If you want more frequent gaming news posts from me in between episodes, you can follow the show's page on Twitter at UpdateXShow. You can also give me any feedback or suggestions you have about the show while you're there. Outside of game news, I post gaming clips for fun on TikTok at TheOnlyResh if you want to check that out. And my personal Twitter page is also at TheOnlyResh, where I post non-strictly news-related stuff. As always, thank you so much for choosing Update X for your gaming news. See you next Monday morning. Have a great week.